Welcome to the pod.
Welcome to our podcast.
2 cents, Josh and Spence. We are your hosts, Josh and
Spence.
And we are joined today by two of our homies here, Austin Cuka, Jay Keller in the house.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So exciting pod today. So we are doing basically a little book report on one of my top 2 favorite books of all times. Okay.
Which is weird because a lot of people who know me know that I hate reading.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited for this podcast.
That's sick, dude.
So,
That's sick.
I mean, it's a good book.
Heck yeah.
So listen up.
So it's called The Compound Effect. It's written by Darren Hardy, and it's like one of my absolute favorite books because, well, for many different reasons, I guess, but it basically just, I mean, it's kind of what it sounds like. So everything that we do for better or worse compounds over time, okay? So basically the choices you make dictate the life that you lead, right? Shakespeare said that, no big deal, okay? Another way of saying that is like you are the summation of all the choices you've made up to this point. Okay. Another way of saying that. You make your choices. Your choices make you. Okay.
Okay.
I don't make the rules, pal.
Yeah.
Okay. But
We don't make your choices either, but they do make you.
Ooh. Well, I make the choice and then I make the. Yep. That's all good. Yeah. But yeah, awesome book. So too, like we live in the world of real estate, but it works for anybody that's willing to like set goals, right? So it's super easy to think big and to get all excited and set these goals. And that's awesome. However, like what you do every single day is the stuff that matters. So whether it's your finances, your fitness, your relationships, the stuff that you are doing for work every day, like your diet, all that stuff compounds over time. These are all things that you are in control of. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to nothing. So anyway,
How many times do you think you've read this book?
I've read this book probably 8 times, I would guess.
Really?
Yeah. So I'll read it at least once a year, but if ever I'm in a funk, this is one of my go-to books because you go back, if you're ever in a funk, you go back to like, okay, what can I control? And it's like, well, I can control what time I get up. I can control what I put into my face. I control how much I move. I control how many people I talk to, etc. So yeah, it's just one of my favorite books. So as the team started, this was, I think, the second book that I had us read. Yep. Mandatorily, and I think we're all happy that we did.
For sure. Definitely. Yeah. Well, I was just going to read a couple parts, and don't judge me. I do read at a 4th grade reading level. But
yeah, when you say you don't like to read, it's not because you can't, because you can.
Not very well.
And yet
You're going to read for us.
Yeah, I'm going to read for us.
Yeah, we believe in you.
Yes.
Great time to fast forward the pod.
But I feel like this kind of sums up the book in a really good way because like the thing that I took away from this book is how the compound effect is always working, whether it's for you or against you. Mm-hmm. So
this is very eye-opening.
Let's all gather around and let's listen to this little story of three friends. Okay.
Mother Goose here is about to tell a story.
That's right.
Let's get it.
Right. Okay. Let's take 3 buddies who all grew up together. They live in the same neighborhood with very similar sensibilities. Each makes around $50,000 a year. They're all married and have average health and body weight, plus a little bit of that dreaded marriage flab. Friend number 1, let's call him Larry, plods along, doing as he's always done. He's happy, or so he thinks, but complains occasionally that nothing ever changes. Friend number 2, Scott, starts making some small, seemingly inconsequential positive changes. Big word for me.
Yeah. Dude,
I powered through that. Okay.
Absolutely crushed that.
We'll resume. He begins reading 10 pages of a good book per day, listening to 30 minutes of something instructional or inspirational on his commute to work. Scott wants to see changes in his life, but doesn't want to make a fuss over it. He recently started listening to the 2 Cents podcast and chose one idea from a recent episode to implement in his life. Like and subscribe. Okay.
Could change your life.
He's going to cut 125 calories from his diet every day. No big deal. We're talking maybe a cup of cereal or less, trading that can of soda for a bottle of seltzer, switching from mayo to mustard on his sandwich. It's doable. He's also started walking a couple thousand extra steps per day. That's less than a mile. No grand acts of bravery or effort. Stuff anyone could do, but Scott is determined to stick with these choices, knowing that even though they're simple, he could also easily be tempted to abandon them. Friend number 3, Brad, makes a few poor choices. He recently bought a new big screen TV so he can watch more of his favorite programs. He's been trying out the recipes he's seen on the Food Network. The cheesy casseroles, the desserts are his favorite, and he installed a bar in his family room and added 1 alcoholic drink per week to his diet. Nothing crazy, but Brad wants to have a little fun and relax a little bit on the weekends, huh?
Yeah, I know.
Just relax, chill out, okay?
The boys.
Not a big deal.
Just
One of the boys. Yeah,
Or
one of
is
the
it,
boys.
Brad?
It's just
Or
one
is it?
drink. All right.
Listen up, Brad.
At the end of 5 months, no perceivable differences exist between Larry, Scott, or Brad. Scott continues to read a little bit every night and listens to audios during his commute. Brad is enjoying life and doing less. Larry keeps doing as he's always done. Even though each man has his own pattern of behavior, 5 months isn't long enough to see any real decline or improvements in their situation. In fact, if you compared the weight of the 3 men, you'd see a rounding error of 0. They look exactly equal.
No problem. You do
Interesting.
you, Brad.
Yeah, very interesting.
At the end of 10 months, we still can't see any noticeable changes in any of their lives. It's not until we get to the end of 18 months that the slightest differences are measurable in these 3 friends' appearances. But at month 25, we start to really see some measurable, visible differences. At month 27, we see an expansive difference, and by month 31, the change is startling. Brad is now fat,
We got a
while
fat
Scott
boy.
is trim.
Brad.
Fat Brad.
You're
Come
kidding.
on,
Dude.
Yeah. By simply cutting 125 calories a day in 31 months, Slim Scott,
Scott's yoked.
he's
Slim?
lost 33 pounds.
Woo-woo.
Here's the math behind this. 31 months is 940 days. 940 days times 125 calories a day is 117,500 calories. Math podcast.
Big math pod.
You did that
Actually,
real quick.
117,500 calories divided by 3,500 calories per pound is 33 and a half pounds.
equals 1 fat boy.
Yeah.
Slim boy.
Slim boy.
Slim boy.
He cut that out.
Oh, yeah, he's
Just
yoked.
by cutting out 125 calories. That's like a bowl of cereal, or instead of that Mountain Dew, maybe grab a seltzer. Want
Yeah.
pal?
Yeah.
Water.
Little
Seltzer
lime and
water.
Yeah, I was-
We're not talking a White Claw.
LaCroix.
Brad ate only 125 more calories a day in that same time frame and gained 33 and a half pounds. Now he weighs 67 more pounds than Scott. But the differences are more significant than weight. And this is the part that is crazy to think about. Scott invested almost 1,000 hours reading good books and listening to self-improvement audios. By putting his newly gained knowledge into practice, he's earned a promotion and a raise. Best of all, his marriage is thriving. Brad, he's unhappy at work, and his marriage is on the rocks. And Larry is pretty much exactly where he was 2.5 years ago, except now he's a little more bitter about it. The phenomenal power of the compound effect is that simple. The difference between people who employ the compound effect to their benefit compared to their peers who allow the same effect to work against them is almost inconceivable. It looks miraculous, like magic or quantum leaps. After 31 months or 31 years, the person who uses the positive nature of the compound effect appears to be an overnight success. In reality, his or her profound success was a result of small, smart choices completed consistently over time.
Boom.
That's a good read.
Dude, you crushed that.
I read that really well.
Yeah, you
pronounced
crushed
every
that.
I read that
single
really
word.
well.
Yeah.
I mean,
Shout out, Spencer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Shout out,
Good job,
Spencer.
Spence.
but I mean, for real, like that's such a crazy thing to think about. Like, just because you don't think that you're, worsening your life for, I'll have one bowl of cereal.
Yeah.
Give me that one more pop.
Yeah.
I'll have that.
Let me have that cookie.
I'll have that craft beer, that one extra craft beer.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of this, believe me.
Yeah.
But it's like you do this stuff consistently over time. I mean, the compound effect is still working.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's I think that's why this resonates with me so much, is because I feel like if I have a superpower, it is just to stay on task over time, because if you look at like any type of really natural skill or whatever, or especially from a real estate standpoint, like, whatever, not from here, don't know a bunch, didn't know a bunch of people, like just basically went to some classes like the one we just finished and like did what they said and didn't, just persevered and just kept at it when it was tough. And then, things start to get easier. And then all of a sudden it looks like, then it just looks easy. But same, like you just basically swapped out a few habits, like exercise. Like I always exercise 5 days a week, whatever. So even if that's just a half hour, but instead of listening to the same music that you've been listening to for 20 years, it's like, what if you started listening to audio books? So it's a half hour audible at 1 1/2 times speed. That compounded over the last 8 years or whatever. Right. And then every time
that's like taking a whole class.
Yeah. And then every time I'm in the car, I'm in the car, mowing the yard, whatever, like reading stuff like that, like putting that in your mind and then avoiding some. So one, just like staying in shape, so as you get older, like the tougher it is to get into shape, and like getting in shape sucks. But if you get in shape and then you just stay in shape, it's much, much easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like compound anything, like Warren Buffett talks about, like compound interest being like the 7th wonder of the world or 8th wonder, however many, one more wonder of the world than there are wonders of the world.
Just one more of what there is.
But
shout out Warren Buffett.
Shout out.
Thank you, Warren. But it's incredible. But that is what is appealing about it, is that it doesn't say anything about being a superstar, anything in there.
Yeah.
It only talks about sticking with it, and not to bring up Tom Brady or whatever, because I wasn't gonna do this.
Here's the guy,
45 years of age. But like kids, like so, I coach Jace and his buddies, and they'll give me a hard time because they know I like Tom Brady, and they're like, "Oh, Patrick," and I was like, "That's cool." Like there are a lot of better quarterbacks, but like he's been doing that for so long. They're just that long. Like the older I get, the more I appreciate longevity too. Because you guys will start to see it. Like we just finished this class and everybody's all jacked up about, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, are you?
Right.
Are you? Because I've seen some people do it and I've seen a lot of people not do it, But again, and that's why when I talk to you guys about, we break down your goals and then like everybody's got their own scoreboard and then you either do it or you didn't. You either did and it's personal and business, but you either exercised and read and prayed and did all that stuff or you didn't, and then it compounds over time. And then it gets into talking about Big Mo in there.
Yeah.
Want to tell us about Big Mo?
Yeah. I mean, it's momentum. And like an example I can think of is you start going to the gym, and it sucks when you first start. It's like, oh, you just dread it.
Yep.
After you go for a while, then it's like, oh, I feel like crap when I don't go to the gym. Like I almost have to go to the gym now.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I kind of put into my life. But right here in figure 8, it shows a person spinning a, what's that called again? What's the name of that? Merry-go-round.
Thank you,
a person
Jamie.
spinning a merry-go-round. Well, you start spinning that sucker, and it's pretty hard when you get started, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, think about when it's going.
Can't stop it.
All of a sudden, it's flying. Or like when a rocket ship takes off, how much harder is it for that rocket ship to take off because it doesn't have any momentum going?
It uses like 90% of its fuel or a ridiculous amount of the fuel just taking off.
Yep.
And then it breaks the orbit and like breaks through and then it just coasts along.
Yeah. What are you guys doing anything small every day that you can think of that you can apply to this? Or are you just here to just look cool?
Well, a little both.
Yeah. Okay.
But this book can definitely change your life. I mean, I've done 75 hard twice, and the first time I did it, I messed up all my habits immediately. Stopped doing all those little things. And then the second time I was reading this book, so I feel as if it kept me on track. And it's like Spencer said, the waking up in the morning, the going to the gym. Like I get up early, and now like I'm tired and my body's tired, but because I've done it so many times, my body just gets up and I just end up at the gym. So I I think too is that.
Oh shit! How did I get here?
Yeah, seriously.
I feel that.
Yeah.
It's like you blacked out on that.
Those
We'll
like
learn to teleport.
like those first few seconds when you're waking up, you're thinking of every single excuse to not get out of bed or not go to the gym or whatever. And I still get those every single day. But now, because I've read this book and it shows that like I've been a big person for instant gratification a lot of my life. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. And this book teaches you delayed gratification. Like it shows graphs in there that it takes, X amount of time before you really see something. So it really makes you think critically about, okay, I'm doing the right things every day and I may not see results next week, might not be next month. It's going to be a year or so. And yeah, you asked what little things you're doing. I think something that I have been trying to do is leave things better than I found them. Is that how it goes? So I'm a messy person by nature, so I'm trying to like make my bed every day and not have clothes out in my house just because I know it just shows in my character and stuff like that. So just trying to be more clean with my stuff.
Well, and like a big thing about that is it's way bigger than just making your bed.
Yeah.
Like it's not about having a nice bed.
Mm-hmm.
It's about like the discipline to do that.
Yeah.
And you do that every day. Like you're teaching yourself to be disciplined.
Yeah.
So like it's all way more than just what's on the surface.
Right.
So.
Yeah, mine is basically what Cuka was saying. It's just kind of like the smaller things, like waking up early. I kind of like to think of it as like, are you going to be a half empty or half full like kind of day, like glass? So it's basically when you go into work, are you half full or half empty? I know he thinks I'm not listening to podcasts, but
trying to kind of counter.
Yeah. But I don't know, just surround yourself with the people that make your glass full is what's been like gets you through the day. So so I say just doing the little things, making those little just communication with your coworkers goes a long ways throughout your day.
And then
Cameron Spence. Cameron Spence.
But yeah,
it's all right. We're still here.
But too, like you see it, like, and we talked about this in the car the other day. We were coming back from an appointment, and we you had a really good appointment. Like you guys scheduled an appointment, it went really well. And then I talked a lot about we talked about momentum, and how it works, and we also talked about what a lot of people do, myself included, have done in the past. Is like, hey, sweet, everything's going really well. Now I'm going to quit all the things that got me here. And so when that momentum comes and it's like a learned thing, like, okay, now we're not going to sabotage to keep hitting our head on this ceiling. It's like, no, we're going to blast through that and get to the next thing. So another daily discipline that we do. And again, nothing's rocket science. Like you model what do successful real estate teams do. It's like, well, they all come in and they kind of practice in the morning, they identify who they can help, what they're going to say, all that type of stuff. And then they get on the phone. And you guys have been doing that for a long time now. And we're starting to now get that momentum. So that whole delayed gratification would have been easy on the first day that you call, be like, oh, this sucks. This is why people don't do this. But we push through and push through and push through. And now here we are. And you guys set you guys set 6 appointments yesterday? Something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, kind of booked out our whole week.
Don't answer your phone if you don't.
You're meeting one of us.
You don't want these guys coming to your house and helping you with your real estate needs. But that's another and you guys probably don't even see it because you're just in it. But that's very much what's happening right now. You are now reaping the benefits of a lot of just doing the right things every day.
Yeah.
And so now the trick is to keep that going, and then raise the bar.
Yeah.
So now instead of oh, now this is, now what else can we do? What else can we add to our repertoire? What else? Whatever. Just find the next thing.
Yeah.
And a big thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And we talked about this when Josh made me think about after we were leaving that appointment the other day, is in the past I had been really good at self-sabotaging.
Yep.
And I think that was something, I could get X amount of days or whatever. I could do X amount of time doing the right thing. And then I would feel this, I would feel Big Mo. And I'd be like, I don't know what to do now. I have all this momentum and I'm nervous or anxious or whatever, and I wasn't able to like Josh said, like lift the bar higher or whatever.
Why do you think we do that?
Do what?
Like just cut off all momentum and like self-sabotage. I do the same thing.
I don't know.
think it's very unfamiliar.
Yeah, my big thing too was like when looking at like our open calendar yesterday before we started lead genning, and then after lead gen, our calendar was filled, and we're like, okay, we have so much to do. Like, let's stop what we're doing and just focusing now on what we just like scheduled. So
I think too is it's for me at least is like the fear of success. I think that's a big thing that like we label it as this or that, but I mean it's uncomfortable. Like you're putting yourself in a position where you're actually winning, and you maybe haven't done it before to the level that you have, and you're like afraid that you're gonna let someone down, you're gonna mess up or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what it's been for me.
Well, that's So there's that poem.
It's funny, I guess.
Well, there's that poem. It's like people don't fear that they're inadequate. They fear that they're great beyond measure or whatever. And it's like not the darkness, but our light that most frightens us or whatever. We're afraid. Yeah, we're afraid to fail. But that ultimately, like I've gone to a few Tony Robbins things. And he always talks about like people are afraid of they're afraid of not being loved and not being good enough or whatever. But anyway, basically it's all just a mindset thing. So it's like even Bold, the class we just took, that's why we did that financial thermostat thing to like raise our financial thermostat to where all of a sudden, if you're ever like, no matter what the number is, if like that's the number that you're comfortable at, it's like a thermostat in a room. So if you set it to 80, like it's going to get to 80 and then it's going to cut off because like, okay, it's at 80 now and now it's going to stay at 80 or whatever you set the thermostat. But that's just a lot of it. And it's like, sometimes it's that imposter syndrome. Like, who am I? Like nobody from my family's ever gone to college or nobody from my family's ever made that kind of money or we're just but it's like the story that we tell ourselves. And the cool thing is that we're like, once you identify that, like you're in control of the story, like, you write it. What do you want it to be?
Yeah.
You know? And then you decide, you make that decision. Like, no, F that. Like, I'm going to be this. And then that's what a decision means. It means to cut off from any other possibility. Yeah. It's like that whole burn the boats mentality. Like, that's how you take the islands, by burning the boats. Like, there's no retreat. So it's like, this is what my life is going to be now. And I'm going to make it work. And then when times start to get tough, instead of being like, like even with the team, instead of being like, everybody, I don't know, everybody's pissed off and whatever. I just do this on my own, whatever. It's like, no, I decided that this is what it's going to be. And we're going to figure it out, you know?
Yeah. I feel like for me, it's like not having a big enough goal or not having a big enough why. So like I actually just happened to flip across this page. It's like your why has to be big enough. So like imagine you're on a skyscraper and there's a wooden plank walking across to the other skyscraper. Are you just going to walk across there?
Not if I don't have a good reason to.
Exactly.
Yeah, no.
But now imagine the building you're on is on fire and your family's on the other side.
I'll run.
Yeah, exactly.
The other building's on fire and your family's on fire. It's cool. It's cool.
Well, you're going to walk towards the building that's on fire?
To get your family to bring them back.
And then come back. Sure. I mean,
so which one is?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Dude, I did really good the first time.
You crushed the first time, dude.
But
He has read the book 8 times.
I don't know. That's what I was gonna ask you too. Is like you've been in the business longer than me and Cuka have. So like when you feel yourself self-destructing, like what brings you back? Oh yeah.
Like Spencer's having a meltdown.
Yeah, like
That's a good question.
Yeah, but like what brings you back really? Like what motivation
Not having any money.
have? Is that what it is? Just
being broke.
that's good.
Yeah. Feeling like a failure. For sure.
No point.
Got super quiet. For real though. Like if you guys are, I mean, you're probably feeling right now like, oh, I'm having a little bit of success.
Yeah.
So like what I've done in the past is like you start to feel that, some closings start coming in. Pretty soon your bank account has some money in it, and it's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna take a couple weeks off. I've got a bunch of money. Well, then, all of a sudden in 3 months you don't have any money. So
Yeah.
And I mean, what it is now from that, like, keeps me from doing that is like the team and having people around me that will hold me accountable. So
I feel that. I feel like it would be super easy to get off track.
Yeah.
Doing it alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And too, that's part of what, also like my big why, because you'll get to that point where it's like everybody gets in our business specifically, but any business, like I want to make X. Everybody has this number in their head. I just want to make X. If I make X, then I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do, and you're like, okay, well, it's okay. I need to make this actually. And then but it's like, no matter, eventually at a certain point, it's like, meh, like it. So from you just find what fills your cup, or you have a strong enough why, or if your why is like, oh, I want to buy this, and then you buy it, and it's like, okay, well, that's done now, or whatever. But if you truly have a big enough why, it just makes everything easier. So we talked about that a lot in Bold, like the legacy portion. Yeah. Like we talked about that. So like, okay, instead of, okay, I just make X amount, I sell this many houses a year, and like, this is my life now. Instead, what if you really applied yourself? And like, what if you just really got after it, and how much of an impact could you make for other people? And that's like on our shirts, it talks about spreading joy and empowering other people, right? Because that's much more impactful than a couple extra closings and more money and stuff. And again, as the team, like we can do more of that stuff together than if we're all.
I feel like a part of my big why too is like the pleasure versus pain thing. Like I'm going to run away from pain a lot faster than I would run towards pleasure. It's like the pain being like having no money, like having to sell my plasma just to, eat. Like, or like, obviously I could still eat, but just not having any money. Like, and I'm doing this full time. So like, that was the pain. So like, just having that why for me was pain and running away from that.
Yeah. But what if you change your mindset around that though? And
I do have a big why for like pleasure too.
Yeah.
But I think in
pleasure
this
pod.
No, you did not. Just
said the word pleasure way too many times, but
well, you brought it back up.
Yeah. I know, but what it? Yeah.
I just feel like in that stage of my career where I was so far away from being successful. Like I was just starting out. Mm-hmm. So like I was so far away from that where it was easier to just like be like, I don't want to not have any money. And that was kind of my motivation.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah.
Yeah. I think another thing this book helps me with a lot is kind of going through a growth journey. I had a self-realization that I had really bad habits. And what this book will teach you is like how to realize those little things too that will get you back on track too. So I think that inevitably, like it says, like it's what the little things that you do every day too. So I think that was just like one of the most eye-opening things for me about this book. And like obviously there's so many things like momentum and stuff, but the habits part, or that's the stuff that you can do every single day, like those little things you can do every day. And I just think that to not overlook that part, and that was like what impacted me the most in the book, I think. Yeah.
And then tracking too, right? Yeah, so it's like whatever gets tracked and measured can get improved. So it's like you want to track your budget, or you're like, where's all my money go? Mm-hmm. It's like, well, write everything down. Every dollar that you spend, like write it down. And then that'll open up your eyes. Or saying like you track every calorie that you put into your face, and then all of a sudden like, oh, okay.
Right.
Well, that might be the
I literally sat down with a pen and paper. I remember, I don't even know how long ago it was. And I wrote down like every 15-minute increment, if not even smaller increments, what I did. And there was a lot of time in the morning where wake up at 8:30, scroll on my phone until 10 a.m. Like I was like, what am I doing with my day?
Yeah.
And then, now if I do it, like I can go a lot more increments and where I'm actually doing more things. And it really took me to write it down. And I was like, this feels so silly just to write down everything you do. But then when it 4 hours passed and you did nothing besides scroll on your phone and go to the bathroom or whatever, you really sit there and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a pile.
I scroll on your phone in the bathroom.
Scroll on your phone, and then you're doing two things at once. But yeah, that was honestly, that's what I did. And from this book, I was like, I just got that idea or whatever. And it just made a really big impact because I was like, oh, this is very eye-opening when you audit yourself and your time and what you do in it. This is very, very eye-opening, very impactful and powerful. And then with what you learn from that, then you take it and apply it to the compound effects. Like, just fill up the time with something important. Even if you go on a walk, like that's more productive than scrolling on your phone.
And that's the thing too. Like he talks about the story of like, well, getting into your big why. So this guy's like, I want to see my abs. And it's like, do you really want to see your abs, or what are we really talking? Well, it turns out his like 20th high school reunion was coming up, and he wanted to lose weight and look good for it. So it's okay. Now we can really get honest about what that is. So one, like really identifying like what do you want and why do you want it. But then two, he talked about the gal. Blackout counter. God,
Shoot.
I'm so upset right now. But they talked about the gal. Okay, same thing. Like she had some kind of reunion coming up. Not bad.
No.
And he's like, somebody ran a marathon, and I think I can do that too, but I don't know where to get started or whatever. But he's like, well, don't go to the gym for 2 hours a day because you're not going to be able to commit to that forever. What about instead? What if you walked a block for a week? And then you walk 2 blocks and then like slowly kind of reach up to it. Because what a lot of people do is like, well, I'm going to get all the right equipment and clothes and all that. And I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to go. But like the first day that I can't go there for 2 hours, I'm just not going to go. Mm-hmm. And then I won't go the rest of the week. And then I'll,
Yep. So just do something.
Yeah.
That's what this book's all about.
Don't be
First
Brad.
thing, read the book.
Brad.
Just figure out your big
Second
why.
thing, like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Third thing, send this podcast to a friend and tell them to quit being so fat and read the book. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, shout out
Just a
Darren
quick
Hardy.
turn of events.
Darren Hardy, you want to be on the pod? Maybe we can get you on.
What's
I don't
up?
know.
Send an email to Dustin. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. See you
Watch
next
for
week.
deer now.
Shake your bug.